Hello and welcome. Today we're starting something really exciting, an introduction to Python programming. Whether you're completely new to coding or have some experience with other languages, this is the perfect place to start. Python is a powerful, versatile language that is used in everything from web development to artificial intelligence. By the end of this crash course, you will have a solid understanding of how Python works and be able to write your very first Python program. Let's start with the basics. Python is a high-level programming language, which means it's designed to be easy to read and write. What makes Python stand out is its simplicity and readability, which is why it's often recommended for beginners. But don't let that fool you. Python is incredibly powerful and is used by developers worldwide for building all sorts of applications, from websites and games to data analysis and machine learning models. Why should you consider learning Python? Here are a few reasons. Versatility. Python can be used for a wide variety of tasks: web development, data science, automation or AI, and more. No matter what area of tech you're interested in, Python has something to offer. Easy to learn. Python's syntax is clean and intuitive, which makes it easier to focus on learning how to solve problems rather than getting caught up in complex syntax. Strong community. Python has a huge community, which means there are endless resources, tutorials, libraries, and forums available to support your learning journey. Career opportunities. Python is one of the most in-demand programming language today, used by top tech companies all over the world. Now that you have a good idea of what Python is and why it's so widely used, let's get started by setting up your Python environment. Setting up correctly is the first step to write your own Python code. To get started, head over to python.org and download the latest version of Python. It's available for all major operating systems: Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. During the installation process, make sure you check the box that says Add Python to Path. This will make it easier to run Python from the command line. Now, since you're done installing your Python, next you will need a place to write and test your code. I recommend using an integrated development environment or IDE. There are many options out there, but the two of the most popular are VS Code or Visual Studio Code and PyCharm. So Visual Studio Code is a lightweight, versatile editor with tons of customizations options, and PyCharm, a more feature-rich IDE specifically designed for Python development. So it is up to you to choose. For me, I prefer using VS Code. So if you already have VS Code installed, just open your VS Code. But if you don't have it installed, please make sure that you head over to downloading it here. Now, if you're done installing your VS Code, if in case you didn't have one, so to make your coding experience even better, you can add extensions to your VS Code. So the first extension we are going to install is Python extension, and the second is Python indent. So we'll head over to the tab of extensions, and now we can type in Python. So for me, I already have some of the extensions already installed. So this is the first extension that you need to install, and this extension will provide features like syntax highlighting, code linting, debugging tools, and IntelliSense or smart code completion. Whereas Python indent will give you a proper indentation in your Python code, as it defines the structure of your code. So Python indentation extension automatically manages indentation levels, ensuring your code remains clean and properly formatted. So you can go ahead and install all of them in case you did not install them. And once you're done, please head over again back to your files or Explorer and open a folder from your desktop if you already have it created. In case you don't have it created, you can create one. Mine, I'll create it as Introduction to Python. So once I have opened it within my VS Code, I'll just go ahead and start by creating a file called index.py. So I'll just zoom in so that you can see it clearly. So I've just created a file called index.py. So all files created using Python, they are all given an extension of .py. In case you don't give it an extension of .py, it will never know that it's a Python file. Please make sure you create it with an extension of py. So now, to make sure, first of all, before we can start coding, to make sure that we already have everything installed, let us first make sure that we have Python installed. So if you head over to your terminal, for me, I'm using warp terminal, and you just type in Python 3 and you put there minus version and you press enter, you should be able to see the version of your Python installed. So in case you don't see the version, it means that your Python wasn't installed. In case you see command not available, it means you never added your Python to your path. So you will need to look for ways of how to add it from the path. As we are learning, of course, we need to even learn to find solution to some of the issues we meet while we are installing or while we are even setting up our environment. So our first Python code will be a print statement. As in most of other languages like JavaScript, they all start with a console.log. We are also going to start with a print statement. So the print function helps us to actually make sure that we print something in our console. So let us put in something like hello world. So if we now want to run this code that is in index.py, we should make sure that we open our terminal. So VS Code has a built-in terminal which you can always access by just doing Control and a backtick. In case you don't see that, you can as well head over to your menu and look for terminal, and then once you click on it, you should be able, once you click on terminal from the menu, you should be able now to have your VS Code terminal that looks like this. I'll just zoom in, and now to run our codes, we just need to run Python like this, and then followed by the name of the file. You can use tab for auto completion. If we press enter, we can see now we are able to execute our print within our console or within the console of our terminal. Now let's go a little deeper and talk about variables within Python. Variables in Python are containers that store data values. The great thing about Python is that you don't need to declare a variable type beforehand. It's dynamic, meaning you can assign different types of values to a variable easily, not like in other programming languages. So let us start by writing a variable called greeting. If I just write a variable called greeting and assign it to a certain statement, so this statement is usually referred to as a string, but later on we shall see it in details. So if I now write a variable name called greeting and I assign it, this is called an assignment operator, and I assign it to this string called hello Python, then I can also assign something else like number, which would be 25. This is called an integer, and I can as well also do something that is more of a decimal number, which is now a float. So this is pi value, which is going to be 3.14, as we all normally know. So we can print these values in on our terminal by using print, and we can specify the different variables that we just defined. I'll zoom out a little bit. So now I can print greeting. I can as well print. So for variables, you don't need to, when you're printing variables, you don't need to put there some quotes, because it already has something it is assigned to. So we can as well also go for number, and the same thing we can do to print also the pi value. And if we run our Python file again, if I pull this up and we run it again by using Python, then the name of the file, then we can see that it was able to print all the two variables. So the first one, greeting, this is a string variable. The second one is just an integer, and the other one is a float. Now let's make this more interactive. I want us to try to write a small program that asks for your name and then greets you with a custom message. This will help you practice working with variables and user input. So the input function is used to take input from the user during the execution of the program, and it allows your program to be interactive by waiting for the user to enter some information which can then be used within the program. Let us now start by making sure we store our input within a variable called name. So this is how we use input. It is a function or a method, therefore we need to call it or invoke it. And then calling it means that we put there some brackets to make sure that that function executes. So we shall see this when we start functions in Python. So now we can just write in something like enter your name, and mind you, in Python we can use double quotes or single quotes to represent strings. So now we can write in enter your first name, and now we can make sure that once they have entered their first name, we can print some message like this, and we can use what we call the formatting string, and we can have in something like hello and then the name entered from the input. So let me break this down. So the input function, as said, it is used to display a message, enter your name, and it also allows the user to enter something within the console and returns the exact thing they have entered. And the print function displays the message to the user from the console. So something that you might not have understood is the F that comes before the strings. So the F before the strings indicates what we call an F string, which allows you to embed expressions inside string literals using curly braces. Like this will allow us to enter or to be able to use a variable inside strings by putting it in some curly braces. Now let us try to run this code. Let us first clear this terminal. If you run by using the same command, we can see we are getting the other message, enter your name, and I can put in my two names. Then after entering my name, you can see it just greeted me, hello John, and it terminated the program. That's it for this introduction to Python. In this crash course, we've covered the basics of Python, why it is useful, and how to set up your environment, and even write a couple of simple programs. Python is an amazing language, and this is just the beginning. If you follow along in the upcoming videos, we will dive deeper into the core concept of Python and build more complex programs together. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we'll cover Python data types, operators, and much more. Bye everyone, happy coding.